Okay, Janelle, hi, how you doing? You've got your work up, and thank you so much for kicking things off. You've always been one that's never afraid to go first, and I think that's commendable. I really do. It takes a lot of guts to go first, and I really I commend you for that. Okay, so first page. I just want to bring to your attention. This isn't concept design final. This is actually phase three, design development begin. Okay, so this is the first stage of phase three, not the last stage of phase two. Okay. Um, Now, you've got your Reykjavik Iceland 2022 Winter Olympics, but I would recommend not using the same typeface for anything other than the logo. That's the logo. That's your logo typeface. That's your word mark. So let's leave that alone and not use it for anything other than the word mark. That way it'll stand alone in its own branding, and it will be isolated and used only for branding. Okay. Um, Now the logo itself, I think the logo is fantastic. I think that you need more iterations of the logo, though. For example, well, first let me make this comment on the logo. The logo is wonderful. I think the mechanics are beautiful. The one thing I would recommend with the logo is to take those Olympic rings and just move them away from that descender from the J for Reykjavik. And let me show you what I mean. Here, let's do this. See how that the descender for the J is it's right up there on that ring. I would move those down a little bit. Maybe let me command R that. Maybe right about there or so, just to give a little bit of separation from Reykjavik and the actual rings themselves. Okay, now, as I said, I think that you need more iterations of the logo. Right now, this is great for a darker iteration, but I would recommend basically what you've done here. It's a great start, don't get me wrong, it's a great start. Oh, by the way, the pictograms look awesome. They really do. They're so interesting, and they really describe exactly what the event is, and they're actually very playful as well. And I think that's important. I think they're done very well. I would recommend showing them a little bigger in your presentation because some of them, this one is kind of tiny right there. So, and you've really got this wonderful movement in the pictograms themselves. So I'm just a real fan of the pictograms. The bobsled, I think, should probably be on a downhill angle like the luge. But other than that, these are fantastic. As I was saying, a couple of iterations of the logo, because right now you got this dark version and it's great, but it's not like one size fits all. I would say definitely there's other areas where you can use different iterations of the logo. I'm going to show you some examples. Like, for example, the ticket. The ticket itself is really dark. Okay, if we back off the ticket, you can see it's just kind of lacking in contrast in terms of the background itself. Now you've got the logo, I mean the pictogram placed, and that helps. But I really think that we could start experimenting with different color patterns. I'm sorry, different colors and different background patterns to bolster the visual attitude of some of these pieces. So basically, in a nutshell, what I'm seeing is this. I'm seeing the logo and some of the pictograms being placed over and over and over on um, uh, different uses. But what I want to get to is that a lot of these, you really want to start mixing things up. I think it's a good idea let's talk about Fifth Element. Remember the discussion of Fifth Element, okay? And when we talk about Fifth Element, we talk about, what is memorable? What are some of the intangible attributes? And I want to, you know what, let me just show you something here. Let me do this. Let me see, where is this? I want to show you something here. Just take a look at some of the Vancouver. Okay, now the fifth element for the Vancouver, I would say, is all of these little background patterns and these little elements in the background. And look how many colors they're using. So in other words, it's not just the logo on one solid color. It's patterns and little illustrations and the logo presented in many different areas and different locations and different colors and different kind of visual treatments. Here, for example, let's come up here and take a look. Okay, so there's the logo. But as you can see, the logo is not really the center point of the whole visual package. It's a lot of these other illustrations and the combination of colors and patterns that really bring this whole thing to life. And I'd kind of like to see you bring a little bit of that into your work. Instead of just showing, like look at this, for example. Okay, these beautiful patterns and this wonderful array of different visual stimuli that really create this fifth element. And here as well, these wonderful background patterns. So I think you're well on your way, but I would, excuse me, I would recommend starting to work in some other visual elements. A couple other examples here. This student did a wonderful job with patterns as well. You can see right here. These background patterns are what has been created. And they're used to, so you don't just have basically, just the logo on one solid color that's being used over and over. You have several different variations. And I think that would be wise for you to start moving towards that direction. This student has established a color palette right here and a pattern, a recurring pattern. And I think that's really, really interesting way to go. So as I said, I think you're off to a fantastic start. Love what you're doing here. And this will, this will start to progress as you work further, and you'll start adding more things, and you'll start to realize that there's a lot here and a lot of different packages that can be introduced using your graphics here. Area banner, environmental wayfinding, and things like that. It's a great start, really good start. But yeah, definitely think about adding some more visual characteristics and some more visual stimulus to your work. And as I said, this will naturally progress as you move along. So I'm not worried about anything. I think it's a great start. And also try to work these in too. Excuse your alternative colors. You could have the logo in green. You could have the logo in blue. You could have the logo in all white, like you do here. The logo itself should be able to stand alone with no background also. So things like that. Okay, great job. Thanks very much for sharing.